MB2, discuss the benefits of on-demand water mobility services. MB2.
So I was approached by a resident about an idea where an on-demand water taxi service could help supplement our free service that's happening now. And there's no other place in the county waterways that do this. And there are some organizations that have the infrastructure to offer on-demand service. This would be an RFP, so we'd see what would come out of it. But I think it would be a unique way for the city to potentially get into a revenue share. The stopping points could be at our marina. I don't know if they could do private partnerships with other marina locations like Sunset Harbor. And the time that I'm really thinking this is going to be helpful is during high impact weekends. It's just an idea, and I don't know what my colleagues think about it. Jose, if you have any other feedback.
I was approached by the potential group. I think it's a great idea. But one of the things that I told them is you can't do pickups and drop-offs at, a private, not a private, but a public seawall, for example. And the only real pickups and drop-offs that I know that would probably be beneficial to them is Sunset Harbor, the boat ramp, or Miami Beach Marina, right? And other locations could be, which is
North
private.
Bay Village? Or is that too far?
North Bay Village?
Yeah.
Well,
Like, can it be expanded?
yeah, but just the pickup and drop-off portion, Jose, where could that happen legally, currently?
So, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. Jose Gonzalez, Transportation and Mobility Director. Certainly, there is growing interest in on-demand water mobility services. Unlike public transit, waterborne transportation services, such as our water taxi service, an on-demand service works a lot like a rideshare, but on the water. These are typically companies that have licensed operators, vessel operators, and they are app-based companies. And you request a ride, you go into the app, you request a ride, much like you would an Uber or a Lyft. There is growing interest, particularly in coastal communities such as ours. The challenge becomes where to pick up and where to drop off. Certainly, private marinas, private docks are eligible. And that's something that any private company can enter into an agreement with the private dock owner to perform those pickup and drop off operations. In terms of public locations, we have two that we've identified. We have the Marie Skib Memorial Park, the Barry Coutun boat ramp there, and we've got the Miami Beach Marina.
What about Shane Rowing Center? Can that be considered as a mid-beach option?
So that's more like a public-private type of partnership. We can look into that one. I'm not sure that anyone from the public can just go there and dock.
I don't know if we want, with the rowing club there and boats doing pickups and drop-off there, I don't know if that'd be what about,
Are we signing off on like specifics or just kind of general idea?
General, just throwing it out there. Sounds like you might have been approached by
But
somebody
North
too.
Beach, yes, certainly needs it, I mean.
And we are looking at potential docking locations in North Beach for our own water taxi service to be able to expand it to North Beach. So going back to the docking locations, we have those two. As you're aware, Miami Beach Marina, there's a lease agreement with Suntex, and essentially, even though it's a public marina, Suntex operates, manages that marina. So it would need to be allowed by Suntex. There are also some restrictions that have recently been placed by the City Commission on charter vessels, on private, operators. So we would need to revisit some of those restrictions to see if they either prohibit or restrict on-demand water mobility service, which is in essence, it's performing a private function. The Mariska Memorial Park, so we're operating water taxi that docks at the floating dock there at Mariska Memorial, but that's through a concession agreement that was competitively procured. Our vendor was competitively procured through a solicitation process, and there is a concession agreement that allows our operator to perform that function. So there would likely need to be, something similar for a private service over at Mariska Park.
Well,
There
here's
also
what I
our
will
code also.
propose. This is our last meeting before the break in August. Why don't we defer this to listen, to discuss it again in September? And in the meantime, give you the opportunity to get more concrete potential locations to see if this is viable, maybe meet with a potential person that's reached out to the commission and discuss those findings in September.
May I also add some insight or recommendations? Is if there is a company that wants to seriously build out, we do have a lot of sort of dead ends on the like parklets. If the company is willing to build a dock for pickups and drop-offs and build out some sort of infrastructure, I think that could be also beneficial. There'd have to be, gates and security, not security, but it couldn't just be anyone goes onto the dock. I'd be open to hearing something like that if they're going to make that sort of investment. So I think it is an interesting thing. So I wouldn't just want to limit it to Maurice Gibb Park. It is a good location, but we want to make sure with at least the Sunset Neighborhood Association, if they're okay with that, right? So.
Correct. And there would need to be some code amendments, because currently our code would prohibit this type of
Yeah.
private operation out of Mariska.
Right. Okay, but I'm okay with the deferral and you guys coming back with some more
Can I
options.
jump in, please?
Yeah, of course.
Thanks. Jose, I know we've had conversations about the route going north-south because we're working on finding funding for it. There is possibly an opportunity, I don't know what size boat or what size dock, but the end of Bonita Drive on the south side could be a really good location for a pickup spot. One of the biggest opportunities we have in the city is to get traffic off the roads by having better sources of transportation going north to south. I do like this idea of having these private vendors come in and build some of the infrastructure. And I think as you work on investigating further details and opportunities, one of the priorities is finding a spot in North Beach, whether it is a temporary spot where we share, locations with the police and fire stations that are up there. If we approach the church, which is, shuttered and, in theory is going to become residential units at some point, although I know there's a movement afoot to change that. Regardless, or this location on Bonita Drive, I think this conversation has to include a North Beach pickup and drop-off point. And with Commissioner Dominguez's permission, I'd like to become a co-sponsor as well, because I think this is a great initiative, and I would love to see this come to fruition with North Beach included.
Yeah, and just looking at the map, what about the street end of 69th Street, where, just north of the fire department?
Indian Creek?
Yeah, it's right in front of the King Cole Bay, but it's the street end of 69th Street. It's
69th,
literally
so-
adjacent to the fire department.
We are looking at that location. That's next to also close to the police.
And
the
it's
northeast
between
substation, the
it's
Nest.
between the church and the fire department.
We're correct. We're looking at that area, and Commissioner Bott had a great point. She hit the nail on the head with Bonita Drive street end. That's public right of way. So we're also looking at that street end. Again, these this investigation so far has been in the context of our own water taxi service, which is a mass transit service. But we, are happy to also look at these locations for potential private on-demand.
Yeah, and it would be great if, like, if there is gonna be, for example, a no bid waiver for some of these companies, or maybe there's not, I don't know, but building out infrastructure would be a huge benefit to us. Obviously, if they can build a sort of a dock and even for North Beach, maybe even have, now that those derelict boats are gone, maybe you have something similar to Sunset Harbor where you have like little finger piers and kayak launches, which could also be part of, because if they're gonna go through the process of getting a permit for a dock, it's gonna take a long time. Might as well just add other things in there as far as a public benefit.
Agreed.
Okay.
If I could jump in for a minute. It's great discussion, love this, and as everyone has been mentioning, Jose and his team have really done a good job of mapping out additional pickup and drop-off locations. Some of them have been discussed right now in this meeting. There's also in the south of Fifth Marina, there's also discussions with Mount Sinai, so all that as subject to some additional funding should be, as we're doing, should be part of this discussion. Because I think anybody who wants to do a sort of this additional on-demand is going to want to know where the city is going to have a service that's running free, because it might impede their business. And this is coming, and it's going to come fairly soon. So it all ties together. So I'm glad we're having this discussion.
Okay, so we have a motion. And a
Yeah, I
second
think so.
to-
I think Jose's gotten some information and he'll be able to come back. Obviously, because we're not only looking at, I think necessarily, because it's, like a water, literally an Uber or a taxi for maybe a individual or a family, it wouldn't be such a big boat. So you might be looking at public to public location, could be a private to public, picked up at your condo building and taken to Monty's, let's say, for dinner and return. So there's a lot of options there. But I think we'll surely get them heard and discussed and return to FERC with additional information. We're good with
Yeah,
that?
and on that point, and I believe it was referenced, but the north and south potential linking the entire Miami Beach, it would take a different, a lower scale boat, but still definitely doable to get under some of those bridges. But the possibilities are endless, and I know Jose has it mapped out. I took a boat tour with Jose and his team as well. We literally mapped out the city and different drop-off and pickup points, because certainly anything owned by the city is usable, and some of them are actually pretty ripe for doing it now with very little infrastructure costs. So there's a lot that can be done with minimal funding. We can really make a transportation. And what's great about this is a number of the county commissioners have taken taxi rides with me because they're looking at expanding it. Some of the neighboring cities to our north are looking to link to our water taxis. So this really has, in a short period of time, could be something that expands countywide as opposed to even just a Miami Beach link.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate your years of advocacy in this. The water taxi has been a great success. Commissioner Dominguez and Suarez, thank you for expanding and elaborating it upon it. I think this is a tremendous opportunity as we look for alternative transportation solutions. So, Jose, thanks for you and your team for continuing to facilitate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
So that's closed out, Mr. CFO?
Well, we're done with this.
Not
It'll
closed out,
return.
but
Yes,
yeah,
for now, it'll return.
Let's get an update on parking. This is OB6. I've had this on for a while and don't want this to fall off.